Hello. We are back with Skimlecast and we are at episode 9.
Wow.
Jawohl. Yes. So there was a bit of a pause and we've been very busy with Skimle in the past
With the product.
weeks. With the product.
Yeah.
We are Finnish people. We love the product and then we don't always do the communication that very well, but we have been really building the product. And thought we would talk about that today as well. And this episode, we thought we would go really to the core and one of the starting points of Skimle, which was the academic research, because that is kind of where the method and the idea and the rigor and the kind of our most challenging and lovable users are coming from. But if we start with that, so what's new for the academic gang? Or how do you call them? A flock of academics?
The scholars.
The scholars.
Yeah, we've been actually. I've been touring different universities, and I've noticed that the attitude towards use of AI has changed quite a bit. So it was initially quite negative. People were thinking that AI can't replace what we're doing, and now I guess with changes in all kinds of other knowledge work professions, the more widespread adoption of AI, people are kind of coming to terms with the idea that it's actually a very useful tool that can augment what we do and there's a division of labor. So good news for academics is that we've been adding, which I think is a very nicely designed feature, to code your data manually. And also to more easily move insights from one category to another, add categories, manage categories, stuff that gives you a real control over the data, the coding, the research process.
Yeah, and I think this control is important because I think the discussion around the risk of AI in academia is a valid concern, because if you look at many of the other tools out there, I mean, you put everything to a chatbot or something and spits out something, but you don't really have this transparency nor editability in a way. And the fact that now you can take the AI. Maybe for you it's a 100% solution, maybe it's a 80% solution, doesn't matter, but you can go to where you want to go with the data, and you actually have the classic control, because this of course is what NVivo, Atlas TI, Max QDA, like the old previous generation softwares were all about, that control, and I think we want to give that control back to people as well.
Yeah, I think my view of what qualitative research really is about is that you create an abstraction from the raw data, and then from those abstractions you build further abstractions, right? Like you move towards more and more abstract things, and
when you reach full abstraction, it's called academic paper. Right?
Yeah, that's the new theory.
When you can no longer recognize any facts, then you have built an article. That's the consultant view, maybe not the...
No. But you need a theory that transfers to other contexts, other cases, right? And in that, like the AI, what it does, it creates these abstractions that are kind of obvious from the data in a way. Like what is the job is this induction.
Yeah.
But many of them are self-evident in a way, or they are not interesting, or they are
it's a summary of the data.
Exactly. And they are super useful because they are the blocks where you build then the more abstract story, right? But really the ability to delete, add, relabel, regroup, add manually new things, that's what kind of basically gives the control back to the person.
Exactly. And I think related then to that editing is a lot of our academic users then want to take this to a tool they use in the old world. So they kind of take it to the old familiar, maybe a bit rusty, not that modern, but like when you have some clothing and you kind of you grow attached to something, you want to wear it. So this export ability to REFI-QDA format, which is the open source format for analyzing
NVivo and Atlas TI.
Everyone supports that. So I think it's an important feature that you then, and when we were researching that feature and kind of looking at the other products, what I actually discovered was that's quite unique in kind of the AI coding world, because a lot of the softwares that we see, they're not really coding it on the again on the block level. So they're not really doing that manual, kind of that automatic, rigorous coding Skimle is doing. And that's because of that, you cannot really export in that format. Versus with Skimle, there is the actual honest coding of every paragraph. So it was very easy to build that export function because it actually is coded in the in the AI itself.
So in the near future, if you have co-authors who insist on using NVivo, you can run the analysis with Skimle, code your data, do the thematic categories, and then they can take it in their NVivo and start coding it. But of course, in the future, there's no reason to pay for these legacy tools every year. So
and that kind of that payment point, I don't know, not to go super deep, but we hear a lot of our academic users complain that compared to what the old thing does, which is you can paint text and you can code it, it's quite expensive. And some are even saying that, they're going back to full manual post-its and color pens because that's another direction. If you're not getting worth your value from the old tools, of course, we hope that you would, instead of going back to Stone Age, you would go to the AI age. But your choice. You can also export the codebook as a Word document, which kind of, and the document so that every snippet has been marked as a comment, because that's another kind of a old school method of doing it, that you're using the comment functions of Word. And that was actually something. There was a Reddit user that contacted me and then said, I want this feature. And I said, okay, it's going to take at least a week. And he was like, what do you mean at least a week? Yeah, it takes at least a week before we can push it on. He was like, yeah, I was like hoping this year. Because he was so used to the speed of development and the other software where you get like nothing. But it was like, and we put it out in a week. And I think it was, we see some use of that. Like some people really want to see just the kind of the original Word documents or copy of those, but then every snippet coded with the code and then a code book separately. So it really allows to kind of go back to the source data.
Yeah. And I guess it's very useful when you have these collaborators who just want to see 2 interviews or just like some very small part of the data, and then you can just send those files in Word.
So it's going to validate that. Like they're never going to go to the thickness of it, but they want to see that there has been thought put into the coding.
There may be some senior professors in academia who will not read all the interviews in the research projects where they collaborate.
How could that be? Because whenever there's the discussion around the kind of, should you embrace AI or should you keep manual coding? I think the mental model of the manual coding is that it is kind of days and days and days of very careful study that everyone in the team is doing, intercoder reliability. And now you're telling me that that might not be could it be like the most junior researcher that is over the summer coding interviews? Could that be? No, that could not be.
No comments.
No comments. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's something I'm excited about, and actually we're seeing a lot of people in academia embracing this, and also now I think at least 3 methods courses that I've learned that people are using Skimle with master's students, PhD students, trying to kind of make their qualitative research course a bit more modern, a bit more relevant by including these AI tools. And
which makes sense, because when you go to a quantitative method course, you get depending on where you take it, but you get the Excel or you get the R, you get the SPSS, you get like all these kind of softwares. And at least you learn the theory, and then you learn a trade, a tool, a practice that you can take with you. And then with qualitative, you might have just learned in a way the approach, which is valuable, and then the philosophy of that, but then you're not really kind of don't have a tool to do that.
Exactly, yeah. And it's also like I don't think the option is that people don't use AI, right? The option is that they use some crappy tools that are not suited actually for the task, and they need to understand what is the kind of the point of qualitative research, which is not summarizing individual interviews or text, but finding these themes that cut across.
Exactly, the real value starts when you have done the first set of coding, basically, because that's when you're really starting to look at what do I have and what is the data telling me. No, it was funny that I was looking at our kind of our user statistics, and then I saw like 100 people are now Googling and coming to our website. I was like, oh, this is so great. But then like a spike of 100 people in one day. Like, what is this? And it must have been my marketing effort. Henry thought that no, this is some course that is now adopting it.
Yeah, that was a bit bad because there was one professor who wanted to use Skimle on her qualitative research course, and I said, yeah, go ahead. And I didn't ask how many students, and she didn't mention, and it was like 120 students, and our capacity was not exactly scaled to that. So sorry for those who had to wait a few minutes to get their analysis done.
Yeah, and I guess the real spike in the user was the 1 minute before the deadline. So that's when we knew they were students because
yes.
or anyone else. But now luckily we have more capacity behind the scenes. We have been scaling quite a bit. So the thing now works for dozens and dozens of parallel analysis being done.
Yeah,
which is kind of starts to be our daily load. It's nice to see that the tokens are burning. You can warm your hands on the token processing engine now that it's.
Yeah, and we have also redesigned all of our analysis to actually run faster. So that's also we did some background work to speed up the service. So
because at the beginning there was moments when it really took like. You would, make coffee while it's analyzing, or even take like a nap because it was like when there was multiple users, it was blogging. So I think it's been good to have the capacity increase. So if you use in the past and you've been frustrated with the response time, now go and have a new look because it's a new beast.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're a professor and you are thinking of adopting Skimle for your qualitative methods course, I created some slide deck. I might be sharing on the website, but also if you're interested in that, just send me an email and I can share some slides that you can use.
Let's do a blog post about that maybe.
I'll do that.
On the Signal and Noise blog. If you haven't visited on skimle.com, we have a blog, Signal and Noise. Very fancy name. We came up with that, but there we share quite a bit of like examples of Skimle in action and how do you do the manual coding, how do you do the exporting, how do you process audio? That's been a real kind of we don't really talk about that, but we kind of you can take audio files and transcribe those as in a secure environment into transcripts, which is of course for academics you have to do that often somewhere, and now you can do it as part of the platform.
And one additional step that we are working on is anonymization. So this is something that in academia, almost always the research councils, they kind of ask researchers to anonymize interviews or pseudonymize them, replace real names with made-up names. And that is something that AI can help a lot with. It's not foolproof, but it can get like 90-something% of things done. So
exactly, and it's because it's not the find replace type of logic, right? And that's why it's going to take more than a week for us to build it. But,
but we are working on it now.
It's in the pipeline, and I think that's especially for academics, but also in the corporate life. I think it's good.
It's the best practice, right?
It's best practice, and also it enables then sharing the information wider. And maybe we'll talk in a later episode about like HR data and so on. But it's like important to be able to serve the data to different audiences.
Yeah.
There is in a way the central researcher who knows it all and that kind of thing. But very quickly you want to do exports. And those exports you want to make as rich as possible while preserving the confidentiality and the identity of the people. So you want to find this way of sharing richness and being sure that there's no
personal data.
No personal data there. And
no scandals brewing,
No scandal. We will test with the Epstein file.
All right. On that note, I think thanks for listening and do go check out the blog if you haven't. And great.
Great. And happy academic skimling, everyone.
Yeah.